Hey there, my friend. It's time for another U-Design lesson in Inkscape. Today, we are going to learn how to design your very own invitations. I'm going to be featuring a wedding invitation here, but you could totally adapt this to be any other type of invitation for just a birthday party, a shower, etc. If you are brand new to designing an Inkscape and SVG files for yourself, and you want to learn the fundamentals, the beginner steps, and how to draw elements from scratch, make sure to check out our Magic of SVGs workshop, which is linked below for you. It's the perfect starting point that will help you get more comfortable with the tools and techniques in Inkscape before diving into hands-on projects. If you want to follow our theme here, you can download the Tropic Like It's Hot U-Design Kit, which is available for all 8-star crafters, and the information is going to be linked with this video below. All right, so we are going to be making this invitation. I'm not going to show the whole steps of the RSVP if you would like to make this, because it's going to follow the same process here. If you can do this, then you can do this. You're just changing literally the base size to be smaller. In my case, I made my RSVP card 5 by 3.5 inches. So the invitation itself, though, I'm going to set to 6 inches by 8.5 inches high. You can alter this to your preference. This is just one of the many different standard sizes that an invite can be. I would encourage you not to make it too small. If you make it too small, this writing is going to also be too small once it's printed out, and it's not going to be easy to read on the eyes. So just keep that in mind. So the first step that we're going to do here is we need to create this rectangle that we're working on, right? So let's start with our rectangle tool that lives over here in our toolbox on the left-hand side. If you hover over it, it's going to say rectangle, and if you click R on your keyboard, you will also get your cursor to change here. So I'm going to start by just drawing kind of like a tall rectangle. I'm not worried about the exact dimensions when I draw. I'm just getting it on my canvas first. Then I'll go back to my primary selector tool, which is S on your keyboard, or you can click on the cursor at the top of your toolbox. Now, up along the top here, we have our width and our height. So as I said with my original over here, I went with 6 by 8.5. So I'm going to select this rectangle that I have created on my screen, and we're going to change that to 6 in this box, the width. And this lock icon is currently closed. And so when it's closed and it's locked, it means that anytime I update one of these values, the width or the height, the other is going to auto adjust. But I want total control right now as I set very specific measurements. So I'm going to unlock the lock icon and turn it off. And then we'll change this to 8.5. And I am in inches. And then we can close that lock icon as well so that it just retains those proportions. Now, if you want to go ahead and change the color here, or for any reason, if you have an outline going around it and you're not seeing a fill inside, it just means you need to turn your fill on. So go ahead and open up Object, Fill and Stroke panel. Make sure the flat color is turned on under fill, and make sure stroke is turned off. So X on the stroke and fill is turned on. And then if you want to change the color, you can reveal the color wheel and you can pick any color you would like here. I'm going to go with kind of soft green, and you can play with these values down here and these sliders. If there's a particular color you want to pull from, another thing you can do is you can select the object that you wish to change the color to, and then select this dropper tool at the bottom, and I'm just going to hover over the color that I want to change it to in the other graphic, and then it's going to match that color for me. So the next step is going to be to create this diamond white piece that we see all the text sitting on. So I'm going to return to that rectangle tool again, and this time I'm going to draw something that's more of a 1 by 1 square, meaning both sides are exactly the same height and width. And so I'll just get one on my canvas just like before, and then I'll come up here and I'm going to make sure that these are exact. It's pretty close. It's only off by a couple decimals, so I'm just going to change it to 6 by 6. So that I know I have a perfect square, okay? Then we're going to come and bring it over the top of this original rectangle, and let's click on it a second time till we get those rotation handles to appear. And we're going to rotate it upright, like so that the tip is now aligned with the top edge. You can see kind of where we're going from over here. Now, the thing I'm going to do differently this time is when I select it again, these arrows that live on the sides, the left and the right, I'm going to pull it in. And it can be helpful to have snapping on at this point. So snapping is up here at the top right, and mine's currently off. But if we turn snapping on, it's going to actually help align these paths together and snap it into place. See that how it's moving there? And snaps like that, okay? And then same thing with the edges. If I want to come in close here and I want to just make sure it's aligned, it's not sticking out, and I'm just making sure it's precise. Now we can tell that's pretty much dead center, but if you want to be really sure that it's like everything is perfectly centered there, you can select both of these together by clicking and dragging and open up under Object and Align and Distribute. You can align these under the Align and Distribute panel. Make sure it's set to Selection Area and then align on the vertical and the horizontal axis. And as you can see, nothing changed there because we had already used snapping to help our alignment. But I wanted to point that out because we will return to this later. The next thing you'll want to think about is a couple of color choices here. So this dark diamond that we have sitting on top, I do want to turn this back to white. So under the fill here, I'm just going to pull this value all the way over to white. You could also just select the white in the bottom of the color bar area down here. If you look closely at my original, you'll see that there's actually a stroke that's going around here and it's a dark green. So if you'd like to add this stroke, which is a nice like offset and a way to add a little bit more dimension, then at this point with that diamond selected, come over to the stroke and turn your stroke on with flat color. Make sure that your stroke style here is on pixels and it's set to at least 2 pixels. You can go thicker if you like. I've gone up to 3, which I think is what I did in my original, was 3 pixels. So we'll go with that. If we come back over to stroke paint, this is currently black. So if I do not wish this stroke to be black, then what we're gonna wanna do is change that. And I wanna match it to the color, the dark green color of this. So with this object selected and stroke on, I'm going to grab that color picker tool here and I'm going to come over here and zoom in to this color that I want and I'll select it. And now you can see that that stroke is that dark green. Okay, the next step here is going to be to add our graphics. So this is where our Tropic Like It's Hot collection comes in. We love a good pun. So this UDesign kit is available. It's linked below for you. All of our A-stars can go and download them, as well as our past UDesign kits, lessons, and all of our ready-to-make projects. So make sure you go and check that out if you want to follow this exactly, or you can go and find your own elements elsewhere, but this makes things a little bit easier and completely lessens the decision fatigue, especially if you're going for the tropical vibes. So what I want to do at this point is I want to pull over the elements I want to use. To keep things super simple, I'm just going to select everything on this canvas here. And when you download this file, you'll be able to open it up here in Inkscape. And I'm going to copy and paste it. So you can right click and hit copy, and then come over to your other document and hit paste. I'm just going to delete any elements I plan not to use. For example, I don't plan on using the suns or the palm tree. I'm planning to stick with a lot of like just greenery and flowers. So I'll leave those for now. And then as you can see over here in my original, what we did is we varied the size, we played with the green shades a little bit, and we definitely did a lot of layering in terms of stacking things and overlapping them. So that's where this creative play comes in now. I would start with each one of these elements. I'd bring them over, scale them up or down by clicking and holding and dragging, and we would just start having fun. Do not worry about them being off of this rectangle. So if they are running off, that's fine. We're going to fix that by clipping. Your goal right now is simply to get an arrangement that looks good to you, and do not be super picky with it. I want you to like have fun with it and just play with it. And then once you get it down, it'll be like once you get the first layer down, it gets so much easier. So I'm just gonna add layers here. And as I drag these over, I'm thinking about them overlapping a little bit. I'm grabbing variations. If there's an object that's falling behind and you want to bring it forward, use your raise and lower selection tools up here at the top. If you want to duplicate items, which you will want to do, for example, I know I'm going to duplicate this and bring it down here. I also know I'll probably duplicate this, so that's a right click and a duplication, or you can use that keyboard shorthand I called out earlier. When I'm composing this, I really like that it looks as if the leaves are all shooting out from this diamond center. So notice that my top ones here are pointing up and these bottom ones are pointing down. If you wish to change colors at any point in time, remember you can come over to your fill and stroke dialog box and you can select a different color on your canvas. You can just play with the colors in general here inside of the color wheel, which is fun to do. And I'm just going to take a few minutes to duplicate all of this out and play with the arrangement. And that's what you'd want to do at this stage. Okay, so stepping forward in time a bit here, I have just gone through and duplicated, rotated, and arranged a lot of these leaves. And one way you can get a good feel if, you're liking the position and how it's going to turn out is go ahead and select this like white diamond that we have here. Use those raise or lower selection tools that are up here at the top. And then you can bring that diamond forward and we're going to clip all this into the rectangle back there, but you can get a sense of like your coverage, how it feels. Are there any major gaps or adjustments you want to make? Like this one here, I'm feeling like I could rotate and tuck a bit more. Same with this one. Get a little bigger. And it just lets you fine tune a bit more. The last thing I want to do here is I want to add some flowers. You could totally stop here if you're like, I'm not a flowery person, I just want the leaves, then totally stop here. As you can see with my original, I added some of the bird of paradise and I added some of the plumeria flowers. So I'm going to bring the bird of paradise over here and I'm going to kind of follow my original design a bit and add a couple up at the top. And as you can see, this is falling behind some of my items here. So again, those raise and lower selection objects, it's going to bring that to the top. And I'm going to enlarge this. I'm going to rotate it a little bit. I'm going to duplicate it. I used the keyboard shorthand that time. You can also right click. I'm going to flip this horizontally so it's going the other direction. Scale this down a bit so it feels a little more authentic, a little different. Okay, again, I could bring that piece above using that raise selection to see how it's sitting. And I feel like this is pretty dark. Like I feel like it's a lot, my other ones had a lot more lighter shades in them. It's a little less busy. This one's a little bit more busy for sure. So you can see some of the lighter tones that I have here. So I feel like maybe one thing that I need to do, color palette wise, adjust some of the darkness of this so I could come in here and choose a different shade of green. Maybe we choose this light shade that's beneath and then I make it just a little bit darker like that. Maybe I adjust this one a bit. And that just brings a little more vibrancy. Maybe I want this to be a different color because this grain's right next to it. So I'll select that one. I have my nodes tool, which is easy to like select these objects. So if you want to select your nodes tool, which lives underneath your selector tool, and then select a single object, and then grab that color picker tool over here, and then you want to hover over another one, you can easily make adjustments like that. So I'm kind of liking that. It just softens the amount of green that there is. Actually, let's change it to this one. There we go. That feels really good. I'm also going to change this color here. This is all personal preference. There is not a right or wrong. I just like to try to balance my colors out, and sometimes it takes a beat to find that balance. I have to play with it a little bit. Change it here. And that feels a little bit more balanced than the darkness that I had before. So I'm good with that. Last thing I'm going to do is add a few of these plumeria flowers in. So I'm going to bring them over. It's falling behind, so I'm using that raise selection tool here. And notice with my original, I actually allowed the plumeria flowers to sit a bit on top. So that is optional, but I like this layered effect. So consider doing that and considering how you want to duplicate and place where you want to place these. You can use your flip tools here to mirror them and create a bit of variation, which is what I'm going to do. Okay. And what I'm seeing here is I actually want to move this flower over here and enlarge it a bit. And I want to move this flower up. So this is just learning some composition, and this is going to take time. So I do not want you to be harsh with yourself. I want you to practice with patience. You will get it. Okay. And so I feel like it's missing just a tiny pop of orange like right here to balance out the orange that's up here. So I am going to duplicate this bird of paradise over here. And all I really want from this is kind of like this orange piece just to be sticking out on the side. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to ungroup this. And notice that there are layers here that we can pull apart. And honestly, all I'm really wanting is this section. And so what happens if we want to kind of like pull something apart from it or erase a piece? Well, there is an eraser tool that lives in Inkscape. So if you select this object and come over here to your toolbox, there is an eraser tool. You might need to scroll down depending on how big your icons are. But if I click the eraser tool, I can come right in here and I can just break the path by erasing it. Make sure your selections mirror mine up here. So this one that is selected that says cut paths from shapes. Otherwise, if you have these selected, it might create different results for you. So now that I've done that, I'll go back to my primary selector tool and I'll come up to path and I'll select break apart. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow this piece to come apart from this one as long as you've cut cleanly through that. And then I can use my nodes tool over here. And I can just clean this up a bit by selecting nodes, pulling at those lines, and deleting. Remember to watch our Magic of SVG's free workshop if you need to get more familiar with these fundamentals that I'm bringing up here, like selections and nodes. That's really going to help you. So now I have just this nice little cute piece right here, and I was able to pull that from the original design with just a couple quick modifications. I'm going to group that together. So it's just easier to move, and I'll bring it over here and then I'll rotate it around and I'm going to have it sticking out down here. And I'll scale and make some size adjustments like so. And I do want this one to go behind the white diamond here. So I am going to lower the selection one step, and you might have to click that more than once until it goes behind, but that's what I'm looking for in my results. Bring it up just a bit. You can use your arrow keys on your keyboard to also nudge things in smaller amounts, so that's helpful too. Okay, so here is my invitation result. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the rest of these items down here. There are these really cute Plumera leaves if you'd like to add those on as well. Okay, so the last step to finish off our invitation here is to clip away all of this excess overhang. Now, if by some far chance you like that and you have a cutting machine and you want to export it as is and have the cutting machine go around and actually cut like kind of that laser edge cut design, that is an option for you. I like everything to be clean cut, so I am going to clip away all of this excess. And the way we're going to do that is this piece, if we zoom in real close, I'm pinching with my fingers. There's also a zoom icon over here in the toolbox at the bottom if you need to zoom in and out more manually. But we want to select this green rectangle, the very first rectangle we started with. We want to select that and we want to duplicate it. Just as we've been doing with all our other duplications, just set it aside. Then I want you to select it again at the bottom, and this time I want you to raise the selection to the top. So it's sitting on top of everything that is currently present there, okay? Next, I want you to click and drag over all of that. So all of our leaves, our flowers, and that rectangle. In my example here, yours will look different. In my example, at the bottom, underneath that color bar, the status bar says there's 29 objects selected. There's paths, there's groups, there's a rectangle. What you're going to do is you're going to hold your shift key down on your keyboard. And while you're holding your shift key, I want you just to click right on that original rectangle. Now there's 28 objects selected. So what I've done is I deselected the rectangle that is sitting on top. So everything there is selected except that top rectangle. The next step is to group this. So you can use the keyboard shorthand, which is Command G or Control G, or you can right click right over the objects that are selected and you can hit group. So now we have this grouping. I'm going to undo that. And we have this rectangle that's sitting on top. I'm going to click and drag over both of those now. So the group is selected and the rectangle is selected. I'm going to go up to Object and Clip, Set Clip. and it's going to cut away all of that overhang. And if you need to undo that at any time, just come back up to Object Clip and Release Clip. You might have to do it more than once, and it will take it back to where it was originally. But I want my clip set. Now, you might notice we lost our background, which is why we made the duplicate of the original background here. So what we need to do is bring this over and get it aligned. It can be helpful to have that snapping turned back on again so that everything's snapping into place at those corners. You can zoom in close and get it all aligned. And then we just want to send this to the back. So we're going to lower this selection to the bottom so that it's behind everything. And there is our invitation. Okay, so the last step here is going to be just to work with our text. So you can put whatever text you want on this. You can put a variety of different compositions. I would say stick with 2 fonts. Don't go more than that because it's going to get really busy to the eye, especially with the way this invitation looks. So if you've never typed text out in Inkscape before, what you're going to do is you're going to come over to your toolbox over here and look for the text tool. It's T on your keyboard, or you'll see like this little letter like graphic here. And if you click on it, you're going to see your cursor change. And if you click on your canvas, you'll see a cursor appear. Now, depending on how zoomed out you are or how big like the size of your font actually is going to change the size of the cursor. So if you're not seeing it, it might be that it's just really tiny and you need to increase that. And then you would go and type something out. So I'm just going to go with the example we have over here, together with their families. Let's take together with their families. It's defaulting to the last font that I used. It's this kind of cute and cuddly style here. One thing you should note that if you're not seeing text appear on your canvas when this happens, it means your fill and your stroke are turned off. So if you turn off the fill and if the stroke is turned off and it looks like this, it means you just need to make sure you have fill turned on so you can actually see what's on the canvas. So double check that if you're not seeing it. Likewise, if it's white, it's also going to look like this. So just bear that in mind. Now, if I want to change this font here, I can go up to text at the top and I can open the text and font dialog box. And I've installed a bunch of fonts on my computer. So the fonts that I ended up using for this, if you want to follow suit, is this April font. So I'm going to select that, or you could search your fonts here, and I'll click apply, and you'll see it change. And then I used a different font altogether for the names. So we'll use our names. And I used this mustache script font. So we'll click apply and change that. And then if you need to break these up, if you need to rearrange their lines, there's a few different ways you can do this. So if you ever need to make edits to the text, you can just double click and the cursor will reappear back in that text box. You can hold your shift key and hit enter and it'll jump it to the next line if you want to do that. Another option, let's say I want more freedom with arranging these here. Perhaps I want to have, I didn't do my full name, but perhaps we want to do a full name and maybe we want to have kind of like one name on top of the other with the and symbol. What we could do is, and then we could hit enter. We'll do the and symbol. I'll hit enter again and type out my name. And if you want to increase line space, there is the option up here right next to where it says lines. You can increase how much space is between the lines. One of my favorite things to do is to have the freedom to just move it however I want. So one of the things I love to do is to actually have the freedom just to move these things as if they are paths and they're not text. Right now, this is text. It is not a path yet, which means we cannot edit it with the nodes tool. There's no nodes appearing around this for us to edit because it is still text. So once you're happy with what you've typed and the font you have chosen, make sure you go up to path and object to path to change it from text to an actual path. And because there are 3 lines here, there's actually a group. So we would ungroup and then each of these would be individual. Okay. Now you cannot go back and edit the text at this point once you make that change of object to path. So just make sure you're happy with what's been typed out and the font you've chosen. But what I love is I can come in here and I could scale this down a little bit. And then I could bring this up. And if you wanted to use your align and distribute tool for any of this, you could also do that. Bear in mind that your align and distribute tool, when you're trying to make things stacked and aligned, it doesn't always work perfectly because it sometimes will align to different points on the script, and the script can be very dramatic, and sometimes the center points are not always in alignment. So let's just see how it works if I were to like make this out of alignment and select these and then open my align and distribute panel here. Make sure selection area is chosen, and I'm going to align this on the vertical axis. So that worked pretty well. I also see here that the and symbol is coming down into my name, and I want this to be evenly distributed. So I'm going to distribute this vertically, and I'm going to do it in an even way so there's even vertical gaps. And that worked really well. So we were able to get that positioned. To my eye, I feel like this could go up just a tiny bit just because of where the L in my name is. So some of this is going to be like visual for you to just guide as you see fit. And then we could bring this over. So select it and bring it over here. We would want to, of course, scale this down. And we could change the size of everything here. Just bear in mind of how small you're going. You might want the names to be bigger. And we could continue writing whatever other party details, event details you would like on your invitation. You could continue from that point. Now, let's say you have everything written here and you want to make sure this is centered. You can see mine's a little off-centered here. It's sitting to the right a bit inside of this white diamond. So if you have all your text and you're wanting to center it in here, what I recommend that you do is you group it. So get everything evenly spaced with your align and distribute, and then go ahead and just group this together. Hold your shift key and select the invitation, and then you can select in the align and distribute center on vertical axis, and it's going to jump it to the middle here so that it's perfectly centered and it's not looking like it's crooked. So that's one way you can do that. And then of course I'd fill out the additional details to where it ends up looking like this. Now, the very last step of this is to just export this. This is a very important step. So make sure you're saving, obviously, your progress as you go. This is a vector graphic, which means we can come in and make all of these nitty-gritty edits. But if we're ready to export, we're going to need to open up the export dialog box. And to do that, you're going to go up to File, and you're going to go down to Export, and you'll see a new dialog box open up. I want you to make sure that you're on Selection, and I want you to select the item that you want to export. So I'm just going to take this finished copy right here. Right now, you can see there's a lot of different objects sitting on top. I'm going to group this all as one, just so it's just one group. So right click and group it. It's all one object. Okay. And we want to set the DPI. So the DPI is dots per inch, and it usually is going to default lower than what you want. I recommend 300 DPI for best printed results. We have this set at that 6 by 8.5. It's shifted just a little on us, but that's okay. 6 by 8.5. And then we're going to select this folder icon to choose a location on our computer. So I'm just going to choose my desktop here, and we'll call this Tropical Wedding Invite. Make sure it is PNG. So you should see the .png here, and you should see it here as well. And just click Save. And you should have seen that bar that appeared there. It just exported that for us. So let's go take a look at it now that it's been exported. So here is our wedding invitation all ready to go. Again, you can make this party or anything else. If at any point in time you feel like the resolution is still too low, or you need something to be exported at an even higher resolution, you could always increase the height and the width. You could increase the DPI, although 300 usually is plenty, and then you could re-export it and it would be an even bigger file. Taking a look at this file though, it's already over 2,500 pixels, and it's very clear when we open it up and we zoom in. We're not seeing a bunch of graininess. It's very sharp. It's very clear. So you should be good to go with those settings. And then we could send this to a printer. We could print this off at home. We could even use our cutting machine as a print and cut for this. So there's lots of different options at this point. And that is how you would make these beautiful tropical invitations. And of course, you could apply many different graphics and themes to this concept as well. And don't forget, you can download this UDesign kit for yourself to make this and follow along with hundreds of ready-to-make projects inside of our A-Star Crafters community. You can unlock a treasure trove of creative resources, new makes with me every month, and live craft-alongs. I hope to see you there, my friend. The information is going to be linked below for you. If you have questions, meet me in the comments, and I'll be happy to help you.